Deadpool Wolverine, 2024's biggest film in the superhero genre. Third entry in this franchise originated in a completely different studio set in a different universe to the one it now interacts and converges in. Plenty of elements to play with, plenty to derive from at a meta level whilst employing a character whose biggest gimmick is to deliver meta commentary directly. Now featuring a Claude chat, also lends himself quite easily to good, visceral action sequences and compelling character conflict as another reluctant hero. The question here is how many of the goals it aims to accomplish succeeds at accomplishing. I argued those very little. Originally, the takeaway of this video was going to be slightly different. The tone surely was. I had anticipated that the film would get compromised by repeated viewings. The cameos, surprising as they were, didn't have much behind it beyond the meta supporting their appearances. And the surprise factor of it only works once. And I knew the film Logan enough to be bothered by this film's ill-advised usage of that material. But I found some enjoyment watching it. No amount of anticipation could prepare me for what time, thought, and a second viewing will do to my initial views on the film. These iterations of Wade and Logan in this crossover are inferior to the ones that came prior. The action and R-ratedness now pulls punches the previous entries through with confidence. The villains are a glaring spotlight to how insecure and terrified this movie is of disengaging the audience. And a good lot of the meta feels less like a celebration of the medium, more like a feature-length ad for the MCU and a military-grade gaslight machine covering the actual ceaseless, unappealing state the franchise it advertises currently is. This could have been an event at the level of No Way Home or even higher, Days of Future Past, which weren't just crossover events but more importantly worked as proper stories that hold up to repeated viewings when the initial novelty has long worn out. This is not the case. This movie is nothing but the novelty. Hell, it's nothing but the very surface of the novelty. Not because that is all the filmmakers wanted to deliver, but because it fails at delivering on anything to the point even the novelty itself gets damaged by one's very own knowledge of the references, assembling this narrative Jenga tower. And my objective with this video is to present the arguments as to why, and convince you of it. At the start of the film, Deadpool is shown traveling to the MCU's universe by himself with the implication that to do so he uses Cable's machine. Cable's time machine specifically. No biggie, this is all done just to facilitate a joke scenario in which Wade tries to join the Avengers. Or is it? In this film, Wade's arc begins after being rejected by the Avengers in this joke scenario, causing him to spiral down, no more Deadpool, relationship falls apart, it's a whole thing. All this because he wants to matter, be someone of importance. And that somehow translates to him trying to join the Avengers, the MCU, and stopping being Deadpool and doing heroic things all together when rejected. Played as a joke, this scenario is also a key point in Wade's character arc, which, after this point, is going to be presented more earnestly. Two very conflicting goals that render this non-functional scenario to be key in the storyline and requires to simultaneously take it seriously and not. It requires to reconcile that this
Let me go through it with you. Your crazy matches my crazy.
Say, I don't, say it, you don't want to be with me. Tell me that and I'll walk away. Say, I don't want you.
is caused by this.
You know, I feel like I'm wasting the good stuff here. Is the man not going to be joining us?
The man? Yeah, I'm the man.
No.
The man is me.
Aren't you the chauffeur?
Maybe. Common misconception. I did begin my career as Mr. Stark's driver. The head of
Chauffeur.
security.
Us? I wasn't aware that you were an Avenger.
Exactly.
Wow. What's your superpower? Is it parallel parking? I'm so sorry.
Speaking, this is just the beginning of one of the most consistent ever-present issues in this film. For now, let's just call it non-committal. And it is also not the only way in which this motivation presents issues either. Let's examine more layers in this messed up onion. Let's talk about Wade. At some point, after the end of Deadpool 2, Wade decides he wants to matter. Do something important. However, what Wade is looking for specifically when he says he wants to matter, as well as who he wants to matter to, is rather unclear. Wade's insistence in joining the MCU, combined with the wording in some scenes, makes it sound like it is about scaling a social ladder or an importance ladder. Wade's attempt at joining the Avengers also hints at this being about Vanessa.
That girl is kind of had it with my shtick, and if I don't, turn things around and do do something with my gifts. I don't think it's gonna really work out for me, and I wouldn't blame her.
However, the flashbacks about Vanessa show a different story.
Ever since they turned you down, you took a knee. Baby, you never got back up.
His relationship with Vanessa fell apart because he fell apart after being rejected by the Avengers. The logic here is starting to loop. Having issues with Vanessa is what makes him try to join the Avengers, but failing to join the Avengers is why he starts having issues with Vanessa. Some scenes even hint at his want being more about saving the world.
Another British villain. He's gonna destroy my universe, and I'm gonna stop him.
Oh, honey, you don't really strike me as a world-saving type.
That bald chick was right about one thing. You will never save the world.
Which does not require being an Avenger, and being Deadpool will most likely facilitate that scenario. But he stops being Deadpool. Maybe a different angle is what we need for this shadowy concept to gain form. What about the previous entries? Wade never really cared about joining the Avengers or any other team, rejecting the X-Men in different occasions.
Join us. Use your powers for good.
Listen, the day I decided to become a crime-fighting shit swizzler who rooms with a bunch of other little whiners at the Neverland Mansion, on that day, I'll send your shiny happy ass a friend request. No. I am not X-Men material at all. First off, I'm not even a virgin. Second, and more...
Wade and Vanessa are also never shown to have issues with Wade's lack of status or lack of belonging to a bigger team. They came from humble backgrounds.
Lucky, I slept in a dishwasher box.
You had a dishwasher.
Were happy living humble lives. Were happy together as they already were, and now all of a sudden Wade develops this character trait, this need to be or do something that matters.
I want to matter. I want to use that feeling for something important.
Translating to Wade attempting to join the Avengers, being rejected by the Avengers, which is now all of a sudden all he cares about after having founded his own team.
From now on, we'll be known as X-Force.
He stops being a hero in his own universe. He stops engaging with the family he built during Deadpool 2, which is set not too long before this meeting, ruins his relationship with the person he traveled back in time to save, because apparently just moments later, having formed a family and recovered his loved one is not good enough for Wade. Regresses and changes Wade's character beyond recognition, to the point of not partaking in what he used to do before becoming Deadpool.
That's why we do it, but mostly the money.
Being a merc and helping people for a price. Now Wade is pretty much being accused of being self-centered by Vanessa,
Show me you care about something bigger than you.
which this movie validates by portraying him as relentlessly selfish and self-centered in order to have this arc in which this trait gets addressed. Even if it contradicts who he was before, the second movie ends with Wade sacrificing himself for a kid he barely knows to save him and the family of another man he barely knows. The first film has him undergo an experimental treatment for cancer, not for his own sake, but to avoid making Vanessa have to go through that experience of seeing him slowly die of cancer. Now in this one, he is willing to leave his universe and the friends he made and the family he built during the last two movies, even shortly after bonding with his newfound friends and saving Vanessa. How about a different angle? Wade's motivation could be more connected to the meta. Deadpool as an IP didn't matter in the MCU up until the release of this movie, and his wanting to matter could be a reference to him wanting to be a part of a big superhero franchise. Well, one that isn't there. Hence why he wants to join the Avengers and the MCU specifically. Hence why he has this random feeling of inadequacy all of a sudden. Hence why he refers to himself as Marvel Jesus.
I am Marvel Jesus.
He wants to become the next big thing in the franchise. And without the meta there's very little to work with. Well, this angle gives at least something to point to as to what mattering even means. I have issues with this. For starters, if that is the case, it reduces the Deadpool series to a mere advertisement for the bigger series it wasn't a part of.
That logo music just gets you pumped.
I mean, it does that anyways, but bear with me. Deadpool as a series was pretty big and successful, and it knew it.
Passion of the Christ, then me. At least domestically. We beat them overseas, where there's no such thing as religion.
Now it minimizes its pretty significant achievements because it wasn't a part of the MCU.
You join the sacred timeline, and you end your days of insignificance and
Mediocrity.
Now Deadpool wants to hang out with the cool dudes when that was something he never cared one single bit about.
I'm not even a virgin. Okay, let's pro-con this superhero thing. Con? They're all lame-ass teachers' pets.
But this time is different, this time is the MCU, look at it go. The narrative presenting Wade abandoning being Deadpool can also be linked to the franchise being on hiatus since 2018, since the acquisition of Fox. Of course, this translates to him being okay with leaving the franchise built throughout 2 movies, reframing his own universe as mediocre, uncool compared to the one he all of a sudden wants to belong to, ceasing being Deadpool for no understandable reason, and every other discrepancy caused in the standard narrative this meta-driven angle will bring.
G'day, mate. There's nothing that'll bring me back to life faster than a big bag of marble cash. Me too, Hugh.
All of this, and the best explanation we got so far, is Disney bought Fox and took them years to make a new Deadpool. Now Wade is a completely different character, while being on a dated sequel which begins deceivingly close to the end of the last film. This explanation doesn't fit the narrative this film wants to deliver. Maybe mixing meta-narrative and standard narrative together was an obvious bad idea. Non-committal, or we are building this idea. By the end of the film, Wade returns to his universe, no longer pursuing joining the Avengers or becoming Marvel Jesus.
Everyone wants to matter. Turns out that you don't need to be Marvel Jesus to do it.
Except, that is in the meta exactly what he did.
Welcome to the MCU, by the way.
Deadpool Wolverine is an MCU movie. Wade is now part of the MCU.
Suck it, Fox. I'm going to Disneyland.
You ain't going nowhere, Bojo. You've been there for quite some time. Now people are excited to see Wade and Logan appear in other projects. The expectation is at the very least understandable. This movie made a truckload of money, enough to bankroll Disney remakes for like the next 2 decades, and was so successful it could make you forget the MCU has been an unmanaged bone-dropping mess for years now. Mr. President, another rejected Marvel project has in the building. So mission accomplished, you done did it. You became Marvel Jesus. This entire angle, both the arc and the motivation, also feel completely out of place in the narrative, especially considering Wade already has a different motivation guiding him through it. Wade has to save the universe from being deleted by Paradox in order to save his friends.
Right here. Because if we don't do something, they die.
The wanting to matter thing is not only fully incompatible with Wade, it also never connects with his new motivation or the journey he goes through at all. It is not why the universe will be deleted. It will be deleted due to a nonsense mechanic I am not even going to bother trying to explain.
This is your universe. That is what happens when a universe loses their will not be returning to your home because there will be no home to return. An anchor being is an entity of such vital importance that when they
not waste my life watching it die slowly.
your anchor being died in an act of
Imagine if you
see
were
how
the
it
anchor
decays from the inside. This is how a reality dies. Means that I have been tasked with
I got it. You can turn your retro graphics of death off now. Make it stop.
a time ripper, Mr. Wilson. An accelerant.
It is not why Wade wants to save the universe either. It doesn't even get proper closure by the end of the arc. As a comparison, in the first Deadpool, Wade goes through an experiment led by Francis. To be cured of cancer, do not let Vanessa go through that experience. The experiment deforms his appearance, causing him to be insecure about returning to Vanessa in that state, so his motivation becomes haunting Francis to get his body fixed. And due to this confrontation, Francis kidnaps Vanessa, prompting Wade to fight and save her. All of Wade's objectives throughout the narrative relate to Vanessa and Wade's relationship with her. Here, the mattering side of his motivation is so disconnected to the previous films, to what is happening in this one, and so incoherent to what it means that it causes every single serious scene related to it, or addressing it, to fall flat. And finally, rewinding a little, how is Wade traveling through universes by using a time machine not in and of itself a biggie? The device itself just brings Wade here, to the MCU, and then gets destroyed shortly after.
Is this because I used Cable's time machine, brought a couple of people back to life, then I destroyed it? That was a long time ago.
Meaning Wade cannot return to the MCU. Even though he clearly wants to join the MCU to matter, joining the Avengers seems secondary. After all, Paradox's offer was to bring him to the MCU to matter, to which Wade replies with,
That's all I've ever really wanted.
Even though that is clearly not enough, at the beginning of the movie when Wade goes to the MCU at will, Wade has a device that can send him to the MCU and back at will, allowing him to be in the MCU and do hero stuff, gaining the attention of the Avengers and eventually joining them, and Wade destroys this device right after failing one interview, barring himself from attempting anything else, including just existing in this universe he's now obsessed to be a part of. Being in the MCU was either what mattering meant or at least a requirement, and Wade could have done it at any moment. This motivation is nonsense. It changes its meaning and condition depending on what each given scene needs it to be, even if it completely contradicts the scene that came prior. And it is far from the only instance it is nonsense. It's the only explanation that can be given. Traveling through universes with a time machine is not an outlier. It is a sample of how much effort was put into this project. Wade's nonsensical motivation shortly after is just one of the many casualties in the storytelling because of it. And we are not done with Wade. I am not a fan of how Wade is written in this movie.
What's your superpower? Is it parallel parking? That was cruel.
I hate him actually, although the film and crew might think they are still writing him the same way. And you might too. Time for a big claim. Deadpool has been flanderized. Not just the character, no, although that's very much the case. No, the identity of the movies. Don't believe me? The first two Deadpool entries contained a lot of comedy and meta humor in them.
Let us go talk to the professor.
McAvoy or Stewart? These timelines are so confusing.
Also drama, genuinely emotional moments that made those films a full package. A unique and expertly crafted experience, making the viewer care about Vanessa in a matter of just a few minutes.
Say the magic words, fat Gandalf.
I'm sorry.
Seeing the relationship get imperiled.
You're clowning. You're not clowning.
People react to news of late-stage cancer differently.
Wade's genuine struggles with it and the horrid experiments done to him in order to acquire powers and be cured of cancer never played as a joke.
The worst part about cancer isn't what it does to you, but what it does to the people you love.
Never compromising the emotional core and the threat and dreadful nature the villain represented in order to try and make the audience laugh out of fear of losing them. Or presenting Cable, a mutant from the future traveling back in time to kill a child and change his timeline. A timeline in which his family gets killed by the person that child will become due to his hate charged upbringing, as Wade tries to save this kid's future because of the part he played in shaping it.
I don't give a about him and his "Are you my mother" complex.
And because it is the right thing to do.
That kid was abused. You can tell. You can always tell. We have rules. Fuck your rules. I fight for what's right, and sometimes you gotta fight dirty.
All of this plays straight, not compromising the stakes and the characters' very personal missions. It made the serious moments land. The contrast between these characters and Wade come through clearly.
You know the funniest part of this? You still think we're making you a superhero. You.
The eventual comedic moments Wade had with these characters stronger.
We need a code. Try 7?
Settle down, Captain Lucky. It's not gonna be one number. God, that's lazy writing.
It made those movies feel honest, bold and with heart, vague and corny as it may sound. This also didn't stop those movies from having plenty of good comedy.
Dopinder? What was that?
If anything, it earned the merit of being able to shift tones seamlessly, or even more, being able to deliver two different tones simultaneously, like the wizardry that is a dead montage be both hilarious and tragic. Hilarious due to the outlandish ways in which Wade decides attempting to die.
Are you a superhero?
Good night, sweetie.
And tragic due to the context driving him attempting to die. Vanessa getting killed by criminals Wade was going against, devastating him. And we understand and share the sentiment because we like Vanessa. Because the first film succeeded at making us like Vanessa. And we understand how much that relationship meant for Wade. Now look at him jump into his death in front of kids. Peak comedy. This was also reflected in Wade's character.
Cool? Yes, sir.
Hey, we're done.
Wait.
You should have seen your face.
I don't know what to do.
Leave it, look in her general direction again, and you will learn in the worst of ways that I have some hard spots too.
The humor was both a tool for Wade to inject meta-humor in the film, as well as a character trait, a coping mechanism for Wade to deal with stressful and emotionally charged situations.
Seriously? You actually have something in your teeth now.
Until your weekend.
Weekend?
Leverage to manage the tone in each scene, from serious to comedic to serious with an obviously panicking Wade, making desperate jokes, to bittersweet. Besides this trait and the many uses of it, Wade still counted with a vast range of emotions, which leads us back to Deadpool 3.
I don't want to spend the rest of my life like an annoying one-trick pony.
What an ironic line. Essentially, this movie will make clear that this is indeed a sequel, with returning characters, references to previous events, and no reintroductions. Whilst changing Wade's character in such a way, remembering the previous films actually becomes a detriment to this one.
You're not giving me a lot of direction here. I'm at the end of my rope.
Wade used to have many layers, many dimensions to his character, and now most of them have been stripped out of him, making this
I'm Marvel Jesus, you dull creature, and I wanna...
pretty much his entire persona, and similarly, the single tone being delivered in the vast majority of this film.
Don't worry, your friends won't feel a thing. It'll be over just like this. Oh, what's that?
You might notice, throughout this analysis, I am rarely going to talk about the villains. You might have noticed, hardly anyone does.
I go by the name of Paradox.
For this entry, the bad guys are Paradox and Cassandra Nova, two wasted performances in characters that contribute very little to the story in the follow-up to the entry with Cable in it. Even Francis as an antagonist was not exactly the most memorable part of the first film, but he had a contrastingly grim tone to it, as well as an objective for Wade to pursue that motivated him against Francis, personally and directly. Do you recall the first movie joking about featuring a stereotypical British villain? Well, now there's two. We're getting a little bit floundery. Nevertheless, these two newcomers' most memorable aspect is the performance they have been delivered with.
Find him! Find him!
There is very little here to talk about. Their motivation ranges from non-existent to complete nonsense. I am going to delete the universe now, against the wishes of my superiors, with the expectation that my superiors will approve the decision after the fact, for no reason whatsoever, and telling the plan to the main character after having given him the tools to do something about it. Variety. And tonally, the contrast that used to be there thanks to the previous villains and thanks to the superior cast of characters is now gone, alongside all the opportunities that contrast will open, replaced by the same monotonous, unserious type of character as this new version of Wade. This film parades as the Deadpool you always knew. A single note emphasizing the more comedic tone in this movie, to the extent that it compromises the more emotional moments it tries to build, and every single serious moment it tries to maintain. Wade here is consistently serious at every single step in his journey, including the steps the movie will frame as serious after. The movie is consistently unserious about everything it has to present to the audience.
Don't worry, your friends won't feel a thing. It'll be over just like this. Oh, what's that?
Including the stakes. All of a sudden, after significant amounts of runtime on this,
1 second and she starts shopping for a new papa. If you can't be a responsible pet owner, then maybe you don't deserve this little unicorn. Guilty on all charges, Your Honor.
it tries to present moments like this.
You just say it, okay? Say, I don't want you. I don't want to be with you. Go ahead, say it. Say it. Say, I don't. Say it. You don't want to be with me. Tell me that and I'll walk away.
Actual seriousness feels out of place. Those moments feel like a powder cake for a joke or a gaffe to go off at any second. Makes these emotional moments feel like the dead silence right before a jump scare. But these are earnest attempts of emotion, they just happen to be horrendously placed and executed. This series used to be a master at switching and delivering comedy and emotion, now it feels hilariously at drama and mocks your sanity with corporate-friendly sterile jokes. You do not like Deadpool. You cannot fool me. Let's continue talking about the confusing use of meta here. If we compare the integration of the meta in Deadpool 3's story, we will find ourselves in similar territory, favoring the previous entries. For example, at the end of the film Logan sacrifices his life in order to save a group of mutant kids from a tragic fate. Very cool stuff. The next year, at the end of Deadpool 2, Wade sacrifices his life in order to save a mutant kid from a tragic fate, and does this in order to compete with Logan. Wade even gives that fact himself at the beginning of the movie in a very smartly hidden piece of foreshadowing.
Wolverine. First, he rides my coattails with the R-rating. Then, the hairy motherfucker ups the ante by dying Well, guess what, Wolvie? I'm dying in this one too.
This does not compromise the coherency of the narrative in terms of standard storytelling. The events of the story still unfold properly. The middle angle of it merely adds an extra layer to the plot point rather than being the main pillar supporting the events in it. Doing both by shuffling between these two types of narratives, it is delivering from a standard set of events informed by cause, effect, and in-universe consistency to events informed by the meta being referenced back and forth would result in the narrative becoming incoherent mode. And that's how we got here. But what is the meta commentary being delivered here? Does it have enough substance to make the trade-off for coherency worth it? The use of the meta in this film is pretty hit or miss. More miss than hit really. Let's start with the Void, the place in which we'll spend most of the runtime. The Void is a location used by the TVA, akin to a purgatory where many characters from different universes ended up in, with a meta angle to it. This is a place in which elements from abandoned projects get stored. The universes are more a reference to different abandoned IPs or timelines in franchises that didn't reach their conclusion, most of them originally owned by Fox. Fun stuff, this is also a place introduced in Loki Season 2, as in the actual place, TVA and CGI Fire Dragon included. Here, Cassandra Nova, the second villain, gets introduced. She is Xavier's twin sister and has the power to control stuff. Very powerful. Were there a bunch of leftovers from different universes just hanging about off screen in Loki Season 2? Here's the thing. I never watched Loki Season 2, or 1, which funnily enough resulted in this curious effect of me not being bothered by the odd implementation of this material due to my lack of context behind it. Hearing about the context after the fact though compromised my understanding of this entire scenario. To explain in simple terms, as this, I will argue, is one of the biggest failures of this film. The less I knew about the material this film referenced, the better time I had understanding the film. And the references are this film's biggest trick.
Gratuitous cameos, indiscriminate use of variants, the whole package.
Now that is an awkward paradox. In this case, it translated to me not caring about the mixed signals from the implementation of the Void, as this place meant nothing to me. Nothing beyond this section of the movie, the actual best use of the meta happens. Time to find out if they can rival the worst ones. On one side, there's Channing Tatum's Gambit, with funny contrasting accent and comic book accurate suit, and done so executed well to the point of being arguably the best live-action depiction of the character. Not much competition there, but you know what I'm saying. On the other side, there's a wild gaslighting going on with the Avengers. Wade's prize team-up that includes Steve Rogers' Captain America and Tony Stark, two characters that had been out of the MCU for nearing half a decade, and technically avoids even showing a single frame of footage of the actual current lineup, with bangers like the Eternals, Ironheart, Miss Marvel, and this thing. There's not even a mention of Kang, Blade, The Inhumans, Black Widow and that whole mess, Love and Thunder and that whole mess, or any other mess Marvel has gone through or pivoted from since Endgame, while having the Void, a location tailor-made for references of that nature. They are not even mentioned. These are the closest moments this movie gets to acknowledging any of it.
Welcome to the MCU, by the way. You're joining at a bit of a low point. No, with the whole multiverse thing. It's not great. It's just been miss after miss after miss.
These are the edgiest jokes at Disney and the MCU's expenses. While it tries to present an image of the MCU and the Avengers that is not representative of its current state and hasn't been for many years now. Who cares about that though? On one side, there's Jennifer Garner's Elektra. She's alright. Look, I am grasping straws, just bear with me. On the other hand, meet Chris Evans' Human Torch, a character that receives a pretty odd treatment by Wade and the film itself, seemingly as a reference, or at the very least, informed by how those films were received at the time.
We don't know that guy.
The first Fantastic Four is better than current MCU, which is awkward, but don't let that distract you. It's the impression I got, the impression I've seen others get, including people who enjoy the film and this particular angle. Meanwhile, with Elektra, Did anyone besides me remember Elektra? Feels like I'm the only one I know that saw that movie. Now, the point here is not that Chris Evans had to stick around the entire Void section, nor is it that Elektra should have gotten an equally horrible treatment. The Void grants the opportunity to portray abandoned characters in a cool manner. It is the whole thematic deal here, and the film only seizes that opportunity sometimes with some level of palpable embarrassment. It is just very awkward how Wade and the film itself treat this one character from a bad couple of movies in such a way, while the other character with a substantially worse, less successful, poorly remembered movie even gets an epic entrance and barely this one line that accounts for nothing.
You are wonderful. Electra, yes, who could forget?
Also, there is that about Wade going on an arc about not needing the cool kids to matter, also not caring about Johnny, not giving a single one about getting him killed for not being cool enough, never ever being addressed. The better. What a smart script, am I right, guys? On one side, there's Wesley Snipes' Blade, the character from the franchise that revitalized the genre before Spider-Man, X-Men and Batman made their contribution to inject it into the mainstream, whom, alongside the previously mentioned characters, has been trapped in the Void for quite some time, forming a team to survive the scenario of fighting villains from discontinued Fox X-Men timelines, alongside other name-drop characters like Daredevil and the Fantastic Four. Fun stuff for the most part. Not every meta element fails, but most of them do fail, some of them in shocking ways. The Void here gets more confusing the more you are familiar with it. On my part, I had a lucky dice roll. I was not familiar with it, I didn't care, and found the use of it to be a fun idea. I, however, was familiar with the previous Deadpool films, the MCU abroad, including the Avengers and many of the industry events that are referenced here.
Rest in pieces, Fox. Rest in pieces, Fox.
More often than not, to the film's detriment. But there is one more film that was very prominently not just referenced as much as directly woven onto Deadpool and Wolverine's narrative, that I was very familiar with. The effect was always immediate. From the top, Logan is set in the year 2029.
Hey, Clyde, it's 2029. Why are we still talking about you?
In a future in which Professor X's dementia combined with his powers have made of him essentially a very dangerous living weapon. Dangerous enough to have caused the death of the X-Men and an undisclosed number of mutants on the side. Deadpool and Wolverine canonizes Logan into its universe, making the events from Logan to have happened in Deadpool's own continuity. If your memory from the film is any higher than "it's very good", you know that this idea is very impossible and stupid, and starting early with the tendency of smooshing meta and in-universe narrative together. It changes the date from 2029 to the release of Logan in theaters, 2017. For starters, the film doesn't shy away from telling where and when the scene is set when it's not set in the current day and universe. It happens when Wade goes to the MCU, happens after the time jump in his own universe, indicating the year and universe the story is now placed at. Curiously, there's no indication in either scenes in Logan's grave, the implication being this is not a different universe and this is the current timeline. The premise of this movie pretty much requires that. Logan clearly no longer happens in the future, as the end of that film has already occurred here in this one, in 2024. It clearly happened a long time ago since Logan is
incredibly passed away.
Very dead, and a certain child character is now a grown adult in this film, trapped in the void for quite a long time. This is also not the first time Logan was acknowledged to have happened in 2017. Deadpool 2 made references to it, but it referenced it as a film that was released in 2017.
Wolverine. First, he rides my coattails with the R rating. Then, the hairy motherfucker ups the ante by dying.
Rather than the actual events of the film having taken place in that year, but now those events have been integrated into this continuity. Just ignore all the timeline-breaking, logic-defying aspects involved in this desperate move to connect this movie with one of the most acclaimed and successful entries in the entire genre. This is not even the worst move they attempt to create that connection. Back in the void, there is one character we are yet to talk about.
Holy shit. Logan, that's her. That's X-23.
Laura from Logan is here, as part of the team, already grown up, and what is she doing here? She seems to have arrived a long time ago, years maybe, and seems about as familiar with the situation as the rest of the team. But she is from Logan, which is now happening in Wade's universe. Wade was sent to the Void in 2024 because Paradox is now going to erase his timeline. So why did Paradox bring Laura here years before he was in the process of deleting the timeline? Did he also try to make her join the MCU? So, what is she doing in this movie? Her role here is to make Logan stand up to the occasion, which is achieved by leveraging the story they totally have, the experiences she went through that are totally not contradictory to what she says to him, and Logan's perception towards it, which he will totally have. Reminder, the Logan film consists in her getting saved by Logan from an evil, meaner, younger-looking Logan. A younger-looking Logan that successfully kills Xavier, tries to kill her friends, mortally wounds Logan, and has to be put down by her with an adamantium bullet. She has already experienced two completely different Wolverines, one of which she didn't know at all besides the threat he represented, and for all she knows, this is how X-24, Bad Wolverine, will act when he wasn't lowering budgets in human anatomy.
I don't know it, but you're a good man, Logan.
Of all people, she should be the most familiar with the concept that them looking alike doesn't mean that they are the same person. And yet, this aggressively ill-fitted angle is the one the movie runs with. Hey, guess what? Laura is Logan's daughter. Now guess the amount of time that gets brought up. Laura's not here for Logan. She's not here because this narrative requires it. Laura is here for you to clap. Laura doesn't fit here, neither does the film Logan. Its prominence happens because this is the most well-regarded X-Men related Fox project. So it is shoehorned into this film's narrative and this series' continuity like a circle shape, being very insistently and desperately attempted to be square. There was a huge missed opportunity for not bringing back the X-Men from the Fox films, one of the characters from one of the films that helped establish the new superhero landscape. You know, like Blade did. But hey, look, Logan made money, gotta be connected to this movie. More importantly, rather than Laura for the sake of implicating the popular film, Rogue, Jean Grey, or even Scott, hell, especially Scott, could have been here instead and be the ones responsible of making Logan rise up to the occasion. It would have been better to bring characters we saw had a connection with Logan in the earlier films, especially considering the missed potential due to The Last Stand being bad, and also their last prominent appearance, which would have been on theme for the Void in this crossover, unlike Laura. But also characters we do know this specific Logan had a connection with. These are approximations to the characters he failed to. These are characters who met another Logan, just like Laura, who knew Logan was a faulty person but rose to the occasion when it mattered, just like Laura, whom this Logan also knew and will understandably be receptive to their words.
Your bike needs gas.
Due to the reciprocal experience and the feeling of needing to do right to them in search for closure.
Fill her up.
Unlike Laura.
Oh my god, is Laura her iconic Laura glass she puts on that one time?
At least Wolf is here. How does the second titular character do in this film? He's alright, offering a much needed contrast with Wade and the rest of the cast. As mentioned earlier, Wade and the rest of the cast are near exclusively comedic characters. This makes Logan's brooding presence stand out against them, though it is worth mentioning this is also the least brooding and serious Logan's presence has been ever. And it is really not the first time Wade has been part of this dynamic with a more serious character. That was arguably Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and absolutely Cable. That said, this pairing does result in some of the highlights of the film. How high are we talking though? I am not sure. In order to fulfill the potential this dynamic and especially this journey both titular characters go through presents, we need to understand where these characters are coming from and what it is attempted to be achieved. As mentioned earlier, this is a big problem in Wade's side of the story. His motivation is confusing, downright incoherent, the most workable part being he has to stop Paradox from deleting his universe. His journey, a retread of the previous films, his demeanor incongruent with how he was depicted previously. Logan performs better in this area. His motivation is more clear. Logan needs to make up for his failures in his universe, do what he could not when he had the chance to. His journey is also more comprehensive. He's kinda just in for the ride, being thrusted into this adventure, trying to find his way back to his universe, reluctantly participating in this journey, dealing with his inner demons, eventually rising up to the occasion and sacrificing. This is a retread of Logan. Even the character that makes him stand up is the same one, even if in this case it really does not fit, though that aside, the film does attempt a brand new angle for this character. This specific Logan is framed by the film as the worst Wolverine of all.
Have outdone yourself and brought me the worst Wolverine.
This Wolverine let down his entire world. He's the stuff of legend, but not in a good way. And what he did, well, some things are just beyond forgiveness.
For some reason, a Wolverine that is actually not that far away from any of the previous iterations we have seen before in previous movies. One that is actually closer to those versions than any of the other ones that appeared in the assortment of Logans, with different demeanors, fates, and even appearances Wade goes through when looking for a replacement for Logan's Logan before finding this one. And the horrible things he did to earn this infamous reputation, the X-Men died, so he killed people.
They called after me and I walked away.
You found them. The X-Men.
Dad started killing, and I couldn't stop. I didn't want to stop.
All those bad men.
It's not just the bad ones.
Even innocent people. Will be awkward if I mention now that most of the Wolverines in that montage attacked what was for them an innocent guy asking for help. Not a single one of them even knows he can regenerate.
We're just leaving. No, sir. Not while the fate of my universe is at stake.
Plus, the movie even had one Wolverine they could use for this. There's X-24, evil Wolverine from the Logan film. The same one that kills Xavier, Logan, and tries to kill Kid. How is X-24 not the worst Wolverine? He's from the movie that is compulsively being connected to this one. How is this random punished Logan not worse than our Wolverine? This element adds nothing to the story, even in concept, and only adds an extra layer of confusion and nonsense to the character to pretend that this is uncharted territory, instead of a retread of a character arc that has been executed previously and better already. Tonally speaking, Logan runs into similar issues as Wade in his rare few serious scenes to a higher degree. The relentlessly unserious tone held by the vast majority of the runtime, delivered by the vast majority of the main cast, at times including him, makes the rare, more serious, more emotional moments feel odd. A good amount of them being key in Logan's side of the story, so a good amount of Logan's story gets compromised by the residual stupid smeared over whatever other feel he tries to generate and build upon. Still, I will insist Logan is the best character here. Doesn't say much. Someone has to be that. And Logan is not a hard character to make interesting. Logan's perpetual reluctancy is a good source for conflict, internal and external, lending itself to causing friction with other characters. It has kept him reliably interesting, or at the very least, somewhat entertaining to watch, even in the worst movies featuring the character. Being played by an already talented actor with more than 20 years of experience playing this role also helps. But I cannot give credit to this film for a reliably charismatic character played by a reliably charismatic actor being featured here. Beyond the good acting and the surface level friction with Wade, there is barely anything worth mentioning that doesn't boil down to Logan is good because Hugh Jackman plays it, and Logan is relatable because he's consistently hating Wade, and Wade is an unreasonable jackass worth hating. And nobody gave props to Origins Wolverine for the mere fact of Wolverine existing in it. Why start now? This is on that level. Wolverine is the best character in the film. It is also one of the worst Wolverines ever. Oh, the commentary from this movie works for once. I just realized the two worst Wolverines come from movies featuring Deadpool and Gambit. Maybe stop that, there's black magic going on. Another contribution from Wolverine's part comes in the action scenes Look and Go. R-rated Logan is back, alongside Wade, another cutlery expert with regenerative powers, which creates the potential for action sequences to be creative and nasty and show the best and bloodiest iterations. The action sequences in Deadpool 3 are inferior to the ones in Deadpool 1, 2 and Logan. in part because of a general over-reliance on CGI that's about as cooked as it has been in the last several years of MCU projects. Over-reliance that has become on brand with the franchise and affects this project in other areas outside of the action, like the general look of the Void, Fire Dragon included, which really looks not embarrassing.
It's raw! You fucking idiot! Raw!
In the case of the action scenes though, besides understandable aspects, it is also employed as a replacement for choreography and stunts. Gambit's powers require CGI. Human Torching requires CGI. Wolverine running towards Deadpool though. What is this dude? We used to be a country. It is also why I didn't touch on the action the first time the topic of the villains was tackled. They are just not good for it. They barely partake in it, if at all, so most of the action relies on Wade and Logan fighting each other or fighting goons, not a single one of these occasions getting near to what has been delivered in the other entries, Logan and the Wolverine included. As a contrast, Cable offered more in this regard. It was brilliant, seeing this antagonist that severely outgunned Wade with his future weaponry and absolute determination. Francis was almost an underwhelming presence but still presented a challenge that translated into really good action. Yes, I am repeating this footage to get this point across. The previous Deadpool movies did have moments in which the CGI was noticeable. Very obviously not real, but at least for the most part, the reason behind it used to be understandable, like a shot in which time stands still as the camera pans around a fight happening inside a car mid-flipping over. But more importantly, the highs in terms of cinematography, special effects and action are not just higher in those entries, they were some of the highest in the entire genre, full stop. As for the reason why cinematography, CGI and action, especially the latter two, are all being dropped together, good cinematography can salvage noticeable CGI. Good practical choreography mixed with coherent, well-planned action sequences can salvage obvious CGI. Restraint can salvage limited time and budget for CGI. This is arguably the main reason the first Deadpool succeeded at this with a pretty modest budget. The previous entries and Logan used CGI more sporadically. There was less to work on, which meant whatever was being computer generated was more often than not at a presentable stage, and it has also become one of the most recurrent failures in the MCU for the past many years. This movie is not the exception on this, and it is part of a series that used to exceed at it, and now it looks like this. This is indeed the peak of this crossover, which is a massive failure when the movie itself is very aware of how much potential this crossover had, and how much was expected out of it.
Get your spectral sock out, nerds.
No, I don't think I will. Particularly, the lower budget of the first film made it so that it needed to rely more on light-on-effects combat that ironically will age better than this new high-budget behemoth of a production which even today is already struggling to not look raw. In my score system, there is only 4 points: success, failure, and the level of which success or failure has been reached. No in-betweens. The thing with this movie is, it is one of the biggest cases of that type of movie that falls apart the more you think of it. It falls apart with a slight amount of engagement. This movie is a hypocritical mess. It preaches you about not needing to be part of the big thing to matter through a character arc involving Wade learning a lesson he never really had to learn. Because that was never even close to be part of his character. It was the opposite. Meanwhile, the previous movies used to put a spotlight on lesser-known characters.
The instrument of death.
Not now, Dopinder.
I could be of great use.
What's your superpower?
Courage.
That's adorable.
And this one benches them in favor of the biggest, most famous X-Men from the Fox films, then integrates both main characters and potentially the other character from the biggest X-Men related film to the MCU, the Big Thing.
Oh, that logo music just gets you pumped!
And still denigrates less cool series and characters that are safe to denigrate, and does it even after this totally honest lesson has already been learned.
Got you, face.
Wade doesn't learn anything. The movie just pretends he does to fake the progression of a story and a character arc. Deadpool and Wolverine doesn't fit Deadpool and Wolverine. This is one of the most insecure, self-contradictory 2 hours I have experienced in this medium. From this random employee going from feeling harassed
Your buddy here is ready to throw it all away from me. You calling your wife? HR. Does your wife work in HR?
Too aroused with absolutely nothing connecting this change of mind, or how about rejected gang stating their universe got erased?
TVA decided our universe was dying, and I never even got a chance to fight for it.
People like us don't go quietly. TVA knows that, so they took us out.
You may not have been able to save your universes, but you can avenge them.
Then stating that their lack of motivation is due to the possibility that their universe might have forgotten them.
Let's face it, our worlds forgot about us.
One never learned about us.
I guess you cannot remember when you have been erased. Is that the angle here? How about Wade patting his own move in the back for not being ashamed of comic book accurate suit but being ashamed of comic book accurate height?
Ooh, look at those jammies. That only took 20 years.
So, what made you finally wear an honest-to-God costume?
Look at this little Harry Lou Retton. You stick the landing, little guy? Yes, you did, comic accurate short king.
Such a cute widow Wolvie.
But you know, this is not a big deal. He also changes his mind about the suit later anyways.
I'm just gonna ask, what's with this suit? Somebody make you wear it? Those sons of... They are not your friends, I'll tell you that. Friends don't let friends leave the house looking like they fight crime for the Los Angeles Rams.
And I'm going to make you care about this one. Wade has decided to find a replacement Logan. The reason he states for why he picks this generic one is that this is the first one who doesn't attack him.
But every other Wolverine would have really hurt me by now, and I'm sort of on the tick-tick, so...
He's not. Height accurate Logan and punished Logan didn't attack. One of them even looked receptive.
I'm gonna need you to come with me.
Who's asking?
They were just not cool enough.
It's not you, we're just going in a different direction.
How about the end of this movie being borderline indistinguishable from the beginning beyond having Laura, Logan and this thing, due to them repeating the same conclusion from the previous entry. The arc is a lie. This arc is just a huge NASCAR track that turns to the left all the way to where it started. You will know how that feels. You've been watching footage from the beginning and the end of the movie, and I bet you could barely tell the difference. Wade was already like that at the beginning, and he's still a self-centered jackass by the end. The only thing this entry has going for is the novelty. The potential for more was right there. Because of the previous entries and because this genre has already offered other projects where the novelty was just the beginning. This walking corpse of a franchise still dropping the visual media equivalent of war crimes should not make you forget Avengers slaps for more reasons beyond being a crossover. The embarrassing last entries of the X-Men cinematic run should not make you forget Days of Future Past goes absolutely hard. It having the previous and the new cast at the time is just a mere footnote as to why, even if that footnote was what drew you in initially. On the other hand, Deadpool 1 and 2 look better, deliver funnier jokes.
Superpowers at all?
I have both type 1 and 2 diabetes.
Ow! Oh, that's all the diabetes. Right, yeah, you got them all. If you find a type 3, let us know. Yeah, you're in. Yeah.
Contain better action sequences, justify the R-rated more without pretending to be edgier and ballsier than they actually are, deliver dramatic moments that don't feel completely out of the fifth dimension, and I shit you not, you don't actually have to shoot your brain down to enjoy them. There was no caveats, no who cares it makes no sense even though it's trying to, or who cares if it's aggressively hypocritical, or who cares most of the references ironically work as long as you are only vaguely familiar with them. Who cares, it's fun, was not a desperate empty defense the previous ones required. They are good, plain and simple. And so is the film this one is so desperately trying to be associated with. This movie, to me, is a 1 out of 4. The potential was not reached. It wasn't even closing in on it.